Hello, so we found some smoke coming out of our engine bay, which means we get to do a valve cover gasket. Hooray! Now, the only tools that you're gonna need are a ratchet with a 10 millimeter, a half-inch extension, and an 8 millimeter. You'll also need some gasket sealer. Depending on whether you have any nut caps or beauty caps, you may or may not need a flathead. Alright, let's get started. So we're going to need to get our 10 millimeter socket to get these two nuts off of the engine cover. Then we'll need a flathead and the socket again to get the fuel injector cover off. Go ahead and get that bad boy out of there, unscrew the oil cap, get your engine cover off, put your oil cap back on, and let's take a look inside. Alright, so here we have our 6 ignition coils and 12 10 millimeter bolts holding them down. Alongside the ignition coils are 3 valve cover cap nuts and 1 valve cover screw. Let's start by getting all 12 of these screws. While we're here, I want to point out that little red wire. You're going to need an 8 millimeter to get rid of that nut that holds it down. Now I'm unthreading all of the screws that are holding the ignition coils down. I deleted some of it, you get the idea. Here is 1 valve cover bolt that goes between the ignition coils. Alright, fantastic. So now we're going to start using our 8 millimeter socket to undo these nuts that are holding the 2 ground wires in and the positive wire. Take the 8 millimeter nut off so you could disconnect the red wire. Here is the other ground wire. It's a little harder to get to. Pull that sucker out of there. When you're done, you should have 2 of these. Alright, let's ignore those for a little while and switch to these ignition coils. Wow, that was so fast. Okay, now let's do these valve cover bolts. One of my bolts came out a little weird, but it's all good. Here is a valve cover cap nut. Here I loosen the bolt and then I use just the socket to get the nut off. Take apart the crankcase vent pipe. Mine's pretty gnarly, but I didn't change it. If yours looks anything like mine, you should. Alright, cool. Probably the most intimidating part of the job, at least looks wise. It's pretty dirty. Probably didn't get frequent oil changes. It's just a wild guess I'm going to take from what I've seen online, but really, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's throw away the old valve cover gasket, clean up the valve cover, and replace the valve cover gaskets. Oh my god, it's going to be so much fun. I tried to clean it. This is 20x speed, but I did it off camera. Look at that. Wow. Alright, now we're going to use some Q-tips to clean the insides of where the new gaskets will go. Alright, and here's our valve cover after a rinse and all of the old gaskets out. It looks a lot better than it did. I'm particularly happy with the Vanos housing. Dang! That came out good. Moving on, we are putting our new valve cover gasket into the seams of the valve cover. And oh, this part, yeah, real important. There are 4 areas on the engine that we gotta apply some gasket sealer so that we prevent future leaks. I put a circle around the 2 half moons and I'm about to do a close-up of them so you can get a better angle. Alright, and once you hit all 4 spots, we take a double check, make sure everything's looking good. Alright, excellent, let's move on. Here's something I did that you don't need to. I'm putting it back together. We're going to start with the 3 valve cover nut caps or cap nuts, and then the valve cover bolt. This little grommet wanted to stay behind. Too bad, little guy. Alright, now we're going to grab our 10 millimeter socket and we're going to tighten all these nut caps and bolt. Alright, we're almost done, and oh my goodness, that little guy, he wanted to commit suicide, but we saved him, don't worry. Sleep tight, little guy. Alright, and now we're going to go through everything with the ratchet. Nah, I deleted a bunch of it, but you know what to do. Alright, and we are definitely past the halfway mark. There is our first ground wire, there is our positive wire, and then there is our last ground wire. Everything is looking good. Yay, here come our ignition coils. Alright, we're at 5 minutes and I'm sure I've already lost most of you. Connect that hose, connect these wires, put in the ignition coil, and then put in the wire, and then put the screw through both of them. Excellent. Now we're going to go ahead and finger tighten all of these screws. I'll speed that shit up. Now you're going to thread the bolt through the wire and then the ignition coil. Kind of like earlier. I'll speed that shit up. Don't over tighten anything, just get it snug. Alright, and once we get that done, we can finish by plugging in the ignition coils, and once we do all of them, that's it. Get your engine cover back on and you're done. Well done. Next week, ICV, CCV.